You are looking at Coinbase on the 5-minute time frame. A viewer named Marat suggested I make a gap and go video, and I thought I would go ahead and do that and show you the price targets also for Wednesday. Hi everyone, it's Dow on the Dow. We ended the day at $133.88, up more than 2%. This is where we are at resistance near 2 standard deviations, very close. Just right above that would be 134.53 at 3 standard deviations and another level of resistance and a potential take profit area, 137.92 and 141.18. I do not anticipate Coinbase to hit this in one day. And if we do, you can bet price will fall after that as people lock in their profits and they leave. Now, if we go to the south side, which I anticipate, because we are again at resistance, the middle of the trend would take us to roughly 127.91. And from where we are, this would be support, one level of support. If we hit it, I will anticipate a bounce as people buy in. But there is a gap to the south side that begins at 126.42. So watch out for that. Now the middle of the trend, 127.98. Then this gap begins. It closes out at 125.26. If we hit this, I will also anticipate a possible bounce. And if we continue to fall though, -2 standard deviations and another level of support would take us to 121.25. At -3 standard deviations, that would be 117.96. And at -4 standard deviations, that would be 114.58. If we make it to this line, I will anticipate a bounce as people buy the dip. So this is the closest gap within -2 and 2 standard deviations. So I think this should fill on Wednesday, if not Thursday, if we continue to go down. This is a downward channel that we're in. I don't like that, but if you like to go short, then this channel is definitely for you. Now, there is some upside potential with another gap that would take us up to $209.86, and it would close out at roughly $220.12. Clearly, we are not in that channel, not in that zone. We are a ways off, but the potential is there if you like to go long, and keep that on your radar. And you can see the other gaps that I am also tracking that would take us to the south side all the way down to roughly $77.94. Again, these gaps, we are not in the channel, not in the zone, but something to be aware of. And this gap opened up roughly on November 2nd. And you definitely want to watch out for these landmines. Now, taking a look at the performance, we are down 16% for the week. For the month, down 11%. But for the year, we are up 189%. So congratulations if you've made some money off of Coinbase. Now, under the technicals, it's considered neutral, and under the analyst rating, also neutral. We've already hit our 1-year price target. The next leg up would take us to roughly $200, and look again at where this gap takes us. Look at that. If I didn't know what the analyst price targets were, and I had no idea about this, I would play this gap, and for me, that is the price target. So that's pretty close. And also, if you click on this, the news for Coinbase, you will see that Kathy Wood, her ARK Invest, sold 31,000 shares last Thursday, one day after the ETFs were approved, in a transaction valued at $4.41 million. So she got in, got up, and got out. I'm sure she has some shares, but probably not as many as she had, clearly, if she sold 31,000 shares. But we are at resistance. It's a downward channel, so watch out for that. The RSI, though, is turning up on the 5-minute time frame. Obviously, check your daily, weekly, and monthly so you can see the big picture of where we may be headed. But we do have a gap to the upside and multiple gaps to the downside. And we are at, a run of 189%. So clearly you cannot continue to run without taking a break for possibly another leg up. Now, I also want to show you a trade that I took for my mom today. Basically, I actually sold some shares for her. Let me go over the price targets for Wednesday first of all. Now, we ended the day at 873, up more than 6%. I anticipated a run up, but I'll talk about that in a second. But right now, this is where we are. To the north side takes us to one level of resistance and a potential take profit area, 913, 940, and 964. I do not anticipate price to get to this level, and if it does, you can bet it will crack to the downside. To the south side, at support, we are very close to it, 863. A gap opened up right here to the down. Oh, let me turn off my magnet. Change my color. A gap begins at 856 to the downside. 819 is where it will close out. -2 standard deviations, and another level of support is at 812. Just basically in this area, we will get a bounce. Below that, 786, 761, and another gap to the south side. I had this gap in mind, so I am trying to play very conservatively for my mom. But I bought in for her at 645. I traded this previously at 658. And then I have shares still for myself at 622. But I bought in at 645 for her, and we ran up. I set a sell limit on Monday night. So this is Tuesday. That's when I go in and I anticipate where we might go or where I might release and sell off the stock or the ETF. So I had my sell order at 875. We got as high as 905. So had I paid attention, micromanaged this ETF, I could have ridden it higher, but I'm okay with it. From where I bought it to where I sold it, I bought it at 645, sold at 875, and that gave her a return of 35%. So yes, I could have stretched it and made more money for her. So if I got out at 905, that would have been a return of 40%. But instead, I got her, let me move this back down. I got her out at 35%. So obviously, what happens at resistance, people take their profits and they run. And I will always anticipate that. And they lock in and they leave. And they sure left right here. That's an outlier. Anytime we hit outside of 2 standard deviations, I know there's going to be a sell-off. And look at this. We go down and then bounce back up again. And ended the day right here. So I am playing it riskier. So I am in at 622. Of course, this could crack on me on Wednesday and go all the way down to 770, but that's okay because I'm in this for a little longer. This is not investing for me, but it's not a day trade either. So maybe I will set tonight my exit point and release this stock or ETF at maybe, I don't like 66. I like either 65 or go to 975. Maybe I can get a little greedy. Maybe I'll set it there. Or I could just let it ride. I don't know if you guys have been tracking pot stocks, but there's definitely are opportunities to swing trade with pot stocks. All right, that's a look at MOS. And let me quickly just go over Boeing. What a nightmare Boeing has been. So we are at $200.52 right here. All right. There are some gaps to the downside. These are gaps I have been tracking for a while because I'm in the stock for my mom as well. And that one closed to the downside already. So let me erase that and that one. But there are many landmines to the south side with Boeing. But once we clear that, I will feel better about it and then potentially see a reversal. But look at this downward channel. It's terrible. So here are your price targets. All right, we are what did that one do? Okay, that one touched, so we're done with that landmine. All right, to the north side, 208.36. A gap begins at 210.99. And this one closes out at 217.67, but 3 standard deviations takes us to 211.99 and 215.50 to the south side. Here, move this. So we've got this gap, but if you don't play gaps, obviously the different deviations, standard deviations, will close out those gaps too. So the middle of the trend basically takes us to a gap closure at roughly 194.88-ish. And then we've got this one to contend with. And -3 standard deviations takes us to 190.65. And at -4 standard deviations, that will close out this gap. And if we hit this line, I will anticipate a bounce to the upside as people buy the dip. And I have some shares at 186.50. So hopefully we don't touch it. But if we make it to here and even lower, I will probably buy some more because I think long term, obviously there's a lot of upside potential. Right now they're going through some terrible problems with management, the windows getting blown out of Alaska Airlines. I mean, it's time for a regime change, I think. All right, let's take a look at the forecast. So right now, the current is $200.52. The average price target is $277.30. And then above that, $325. So a lot of upside potential according to the 27 analysts who have weighed in on this. I know that when things start to fall, it gets scary, but that is the opportunity to make money. And that's when I bought this a long time ago. I probably should have sold out and I didn't, but that's okay because this is a long-term investment. I'm not going anywhere with this stock. But I'm a contrarian, so when there's fear, that's when I like to buy. But because I see all of these gaps, I will wait and see if they get closer to the gaps or they close out. But within -2 and 2 standard deviations, I think these two could get closed out this week. And we are still in a downward channel on the 5-minute time frame. All right, that's it for me. And that is a look at Coinbase, MSOS, and Boeing. And again, thank you to Marat for pointing out Coinbase for the Gap and Go video that I just did. Have a great trading day, everyone.